Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of Rome during the 2nd century AD. He was the last in a long line of 5 emperors known to have ruled Rome with authority, humanity, and competence. During his tenure, the Roman Empire suffered from a severe pandemic in the form of the Antonine Plague. The population of the Roman Empire was gravely affected, causing the death of 5 million people. In the face of disaster, instead of worrying and panicking or fleeing away like the other wealthy officials, Aurelius advocated a calm rationalism and kept Rome together. He passed legislation subsidizing the cost of funerals to keep bodies from piling up in the streets. When the army was short on recruits and could not afford to pay the cost for new soldiers to replace those who had died, he conscripted gladiators. He sold off his imperial possessions to finance the effort. We are not asking world leaders facing similar circumstances to do the same, but we hope some of the actions of the great rulers of the past, like Marcus Aurelius and Churchill, will set a precedent for the present. Instead of worrying, Marcus Aurelius was able to see a problem and solve it, then see another problem and solve that one too, without giving way to panic. During his rule, he found the time to document a series of autobiographical writings, now known as the Meditations. These meditations are regarded as some of the greatest works of philosophy. In this video, we'll be using some aspects of his meditations as an antidote to the ongoing recession. Number 1. Everything is just history repeating. Marcus Aurelius says, no matter what happens, keep this in mind. It's the same old thing from one country to the other. Currently, most of us are rightfully worried about the uncertainties surrounding the economic recession. We are in the midst of a war in Ukraine, an event that is no fault of ours. All of us are watching the headlines and wondering what's going to happen next. The cost of living is skyrocketing, and the bills are piling up. We don't know how bad things might get, and that makes it all too easy to catastrophize and spiral into worry and panic. Life is simply history repeating itself, says Marcus Aurelius in his autobiography titled Meditations. If you're worried about losing your job, unable to earn money, or concerned about your partner leaving you, several million others have gone through similar situations during recessions in the past. This includes during the Great Depression of the early 20th century. If the world is facing an energy crisis today, the world has also faced similar situations like that in the past, such as the coronavirus pandemic, Ebola, and indeed the Antonine Plague. According to Aurelius, it's just life manifesting the same patterns history has taught us. This pattern of life never changes. As long as we live, everything is momentary and nothing is truly novel. When these stressful events occur, our minds dwell on negative thoughts, uncertain outcomes, or what could go wrong. Subsequently, we think about uncertain or unpleasant situations, such as being unable to pay the rent or buy groceries or afford fuel to heat our homes. When we worry, our brains become stimulated. This challenges our brains and is likely to cause us to problem solve or take appropriate action. In this way, your brain is able to handle problems in order to keep you safe. Therefore, worries, doubts, and anxieties are a normal part of life. Although it's natural to worry about an unpaid bill or the children's school fees, when this becomes excessive, persistent, and uncontrollable, it begins to impact on our level of functioning. These are the first signs of emotional and physical health problems. Take a few steps back and remember, whatever we're worrying about has happened before. What seems to be unbearable and scary now will soon be in the past and familiar tomorrow. So instead of worrying too much, try to keep calm, because we humans are adaptable creatures and we have a unique capacity to change along the ever-changing pattern of life. Number 2, Pay no attention to the ramblings of other people. Marcus Aurelius said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care about their opinion than our own." We live in a very noisy world, and our thoughts are constantly being influenced by the wide variety of noise coming from other people in the form of their judgments and opinions, who make their decisions based on fear and greed. At times, their noise has a huge influence in triggering our fears and making us anxious about ourselves. We end up paying way too much attention to these people and spend a lot of our time and effort worrying about what they think about us. For example, you worry over losing your job often because of the world we live in. In this situation, you'll be more worried about what other people, like your friends and family, think, rather than concentrating on the ways you could improve your circumstances. This is because of our innate desire to be liked by everyone. So we constantly seek their approval without realizing how much this people-pleasing attitude sabotages our self-confidence and contributes to our worries. The more we desire the approval of others, the more we become a slave to others. The ancient Stoics were way ahead of their time when it came to not being influenced by other people's opinions. They pointed out that we do not control the opinions of others, and the more we keep valuing things that are outside of our control, the less control we will have. With the ongoing recession, we may want to ignore the noise created by the media, because those media companies are primarily focused on profit, and so routinely over-sensationalize certain aspects of the news, focusing on the ones that will trigger our fear and cause us to worry, because concern means clicks, and clicks leads to money. It's important to stay up to date with the latest news from trusted sources regarding the recession. But if we constantly watch news or read information on the internet, we may start believing that there's nothing else going on in the world apart from the war in Ukraine and the recession. That's simply not true. As controversial as it may be, the World Cup is ongoing in Qatar, and this may appeal to a significant part of the population. So it's better to spend our time on something that we can enjoy, like calling up a long-lost friend and reconnecting, or really putting serious time and energy into our hobbies and skills. Number 3, take up the practice of mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness means concentrating on your present and making the most of it. While worrying leads you to fear and panic, with mindfulness, you're more likely to get into a state of consciousness so you can complete your work more efficiently. And as you have a greater sense of well-being, you will also be less stressed. You can start being mindful just by being conscious about your eating habits, by going for a walk, by avoiding multitasking in your work, or by meditating. We encourage you to start with about 5 to 10 minutes a day and work your way up to 20 minutes or longer. The idea is to give your mind a rest from the constant sensory stimulation of all your activities and just allow it to settle down naturally. We don't know how long the recession will last, or even what things will look like when it's over. One thing we do know, however, is that worrying about it won't change the outcome. This means it's important to practice mindfulness. To recharge, you can decide to set time aside each day to practice mindful activities in the morning before starting your day. Mindfulness can help set the tone for the day. This includes meditation, relaxation exercises, or whatever mindfulness activity works for you. You can even practice mindfulness as a family. Designating time to practice mindful activities as a family is an excellent way to share a common purpose at this hard time. It could be a daily family yoga session or a quiet walk in the woods. Practicing mindfulness helps bring us back to the present and keeps us grounded. Number 4, be of service to yourself. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Life is short, That's all there is to say. Get what you can from the present, thoughtfully and justly. We humans live in what researchers call a delayed return environment. Most of the choices you make today will not benefit you immediately. If you do a good job at work today, you'll get a paycheck in a month. If you save money now, you'll have enough for retirement later. Unfortunately, living in a delayed return environment often leads to chronic stress and anxiety for humans because the neocortex, the newest part of our brain and the part most associated with higher functioning, has barely evolved since our Paleolithic ancestors around 200,000 years ago. However, our societal evolution, on the other hand, is accelerating. This mismatch between our old brain and our new environment has a significant impact on the amount of worry, stress, and anxiety we experience. We can't travel back and change the timeline of our civilization. Our best option is to shift our worries from long-term problems to daily routines that help solve those problems. The key insight that makes this strategy work is making sure your daily routine rewards you regularly and stops you from worrying about future uncertainties. Pertaining to this ongoing recession, you can shift your worries by asking yourself, how can I make the most of the resources I have at the moment? You can use this moment to get rid of some of the harmful habits such as impulse buying or gambling. You can shift your worries to learning a new skill that might act as an advantage in keeping your job or finding a new exciting career. Your only purpose is to make the most of your present without worrying too much about your future. Number 5, be of service to others. Marcus Aurelius asks, is helping others less valuable to you, not worth your effort? The Stoics believe that every moment is just another opportunity to practice kindness. When the plague killed families in the empire, dead bodies started to pile up, and even when all the richest people in the empire fled, Marcus Aurelius stayed in Rome. He stood bravely and did everything he could, summoning priests of every sect and doctors of every speciality. He toured the empire in an attempt to purge it of the plague, using every purifying technique known at the time. He attended funerals, gave speeches, and showed up for his people, assuring them that he did not value his safety more than his responsibility. He kept himself strong for others. In fact, he was so deeply moved by the people's suffering that he publicly wept after overhearing someone say, "Blessed are those who died in the plague." A good leader is strong, but feels deeply the pain of others. Most of us would like to think of ourselves as a kind person and would want to commit to helping society, but we end up falling short. We forget the world around us and others in it that need our help today. We often don't show kindness because we don't have enough money to donate. However, there are always ways to be kind that don't involve money. You can be kind to others by donating your time to help out a group of people, say in a hospice. Donate all things that you don't need anymore, whether it's clothes or household appliances. You can also volunteer at places all over your city. The truth is that any act of kindness can help us to demonstrate a positive identity and make us feel proud of being ourselves. This inevitably leads to self-confidence, which is an antidote for self-doubt. The government has pledged to give subsidies to support payment of energy bills and so forth. We can also pledge to be of service to ourselves and others. As a token of our participation in service to others, we encourage you to leave comments below on strategies to help others navigate this recession. We would like you to tag your friends, and the top 5 comments and strategies randomly selected will be published in the follow-up to this video. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourself and look out for others too.